Hey everyone, I'm Asel, lawyer, former judge, and someone who restarted her legal career in the United States almost from scratch. Today I'm going to tell you about the most important documents in America, the US Constitution, and why it's matter to everyone who lives here. When I arrived in the United States, I spent a long time trying to answer one question. How did the United States come to be seen as a place where your rights are protected and the powers of government is limited by law? As a lawyer, I had studied United States law before, but never deeply because I didn't need to. After moving to the United States, the very first thing I picked up was the United States Constitution. Here it is. This is what it looks like. I bought this copy at the Supreme Court gift shop in Washington, D.C. The Constitution is 235 years old. Look at it. It is one of the most important documents in the history of humanity. It is not just a law. It is the foundation of entire American legal system, a symbol of freedom, democracy, and separation of powers. The U.S. Constitution was adopted in 1787 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. What does the Constitution include? It consists of a preamble, a short introduction outlining its goals, 7 articles, the main text, 27 amendments added later. The Constitution is extremely short, only about 7,000 words. You also cannot study American constitutionalism without mentioning Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, John Jay, the founding father who wrote the Federalist Papers, a series of 85 essays written in 1787 to persuade states to ratify the new Constitution. This work is a cornerstone of American constitutional theory. In conclusion, what I understood was that the lawmakers wanted to maintain a balance, and they succeed in doing so. The core idea is balance between power and liberty, order and justice, the federal government and the states, and above all, the protection of individual freedom. And here is what shocks me immediately. Unlike the Constitution in many, for example, for Soviet countries, where every section is written in exhaustive detail, the U.S. Constitution is minimalist. It gives only a framework. Maybe that is exactly why it still works after more than 200 years. If we look to preamble, we will see that Constitution begins with the world-famous phrase, "We the people of United States." This means that the source of powers is the people. The Constitution is built on the principle of popular sovereignty. Power comes from citizens and exists to serve them, not the other way around. The 7 articles. Article 1 establishes the legislative branch. Article 2 define the executive branch, the president. Article 3 establishes the judicial branch, Supreme Court. Article 4 governance relations between the state and the federal government. Article 5 set the amendment process. Article 6 includes the supremacy clause. Article 7 describes the ratification process. These 7 articles have a history of more than 200 years. They have undoubtedly been the subjects of extensive scholarly research, remain relevant to this day. There are countless publications and video lessons on so many contents on this topic, so I will not go into details analysis here. As a former judge, I would like to focus on the section of the Constitution that established the judicial branch of the United States government. Next, the amendment including the Bill of Rights. 2 years after the ratification in 1791, the first 10 amendments were added. They are known as the Bill of Rights. They protect fundamental freedoms, freedom of speech, religion, press, and assembly, the rights of bear arms, protection from unreasonable searches and seizures, the rights of a fair trial, protection from cruel and unusual punishment. The Bill of Rights become the shield of the individual against government's abuse. So, the U.S. Constitution is built on 3 pillars. The first, separation of powers, checks and balances, the rule of law. Together, this principle prevents the concentration of absolute power. Separation of powers. Government powers is divided into 3 independent branches. The first, legislative, where Congress, which makes law. Executive, the president who enforces the laws. Judicial, the Supreme Court, which interprets the laws. Many of my colleagues may think, why does she say the executive power in the United States is the president? But yes, that is exactly what it is. The U.S. president is the head of the executive branch because the Constitution grants him the executive power and tasks him with ensuring the faithful execution of the laws. In Article 2, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution is established that the executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. The Constitution of Central Asia, for example, Central Asian countries establish that the President is the head of state, while the executive authorities is the government. However, in the United States, there is no separate institution called the government in this sense. There is no institution called a ministry. In the U.S., there are secretaries who head executive departments. For example, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War. Please, write in the comments who is the executive authorities according to your country's constitution. Please, I will wait, okay? Okay. Next, check and balances. A system that allows each branch to limit the other, preventing abuse of powers. For example, Congress passes a law. The president vetoes it. Congress can override the veto. The president appoints judges and the secretaries. The Senate confirm and reject them. The Supreme Court can strike down any law or action of unconstitutional. And last, I want to tell you about the rule of law. A foundational principle ensuring that the law applies uniformly to all persons and authorities, from private individuals to the highest public official. No one is exempt from legal responsibility. No exception. No one is above the law. So, conclusion, I tried to present the information as clearly and concisely as possible because the YouTube format requires brevity. Of course, every section of the Constitution and every article deserves deep academic study. I agree. But there are countless scholarly works, publication, books, contents, educational materials devoted to the U.S. Constitution. And what I shared today is my own understanding as a legal scholar, as someone who moved to the United States and is now studying the American legal system in detail. As a former judge, while analyzing the Constitution, I choose to focus more closely on the section regulating the judicial branch of the United States. Therefore, subscribe. In the next video, I will explain how the United States judicial branch works. I will tell you about court system in the United States. And trust me, it will blow your mind. Thank you.